And I know Janusz loves this. Messi League Soccer is the name of the league now. We'll talk about that. But you love that, Janusz, don't you? You love that.
I think you and I are going to revisit this show. Our producer came up with it, the Messi League Soccer, pun intended, and not. I mean, we'll say some good stuff, some bad stuff, maybe something indifferent. I mean, this is not going to be just knocking, because I know Messi League Soccer sounds a little bit like it's going to be negative, but not always. I mean, he'll give us plenty of reasons, I suppose, in the future to go, ooh, ow.
Absolutely. I mean, he's already done it, but Messi League Soccer, yes, credit to Rob Moore and the team for that great name. We'll get t-shirts about it. But yes, Lionel Messi, Inter Miami is where we begin. Obviously, the new MLS season 2024 kicks off in a few weeks. Inter Miami actually open it up at home as well at DRV Pink Stadium. But let me just bring you some news. Of course, the club and Messi, Lucho Suarez, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, and the team are part of a global preseason tour. They're nearly done with it. I say nearly, and that will be music to Lionel Messi's ears, and I'll tell you why in a second. But this tour has been gigantic. It began in El Salvador against the national team. They went back to the U.S. to face AFC Dallas, and then they took a trip to Saudi Arabia, where they played Al Hilal and Al Nasser, a game that was meant to be the last dance. Messi against Ronaldo. Neither played due to injury, an abductor injury for Messi. And then tomorrow they're meant to face Andres Iniesta's former club, Vissel Kobe, the J1, the Japanese champions in Japan. And today the presser was given. Lionel Messi said, listen, I'll be honest, this tour has been a lot. I'm a little bit tired. I can't wait to be home. And I was meant to play. We took an MRI. There was no injuries, but because of my own concurrent abductor injury, I didn't take part in the Hong Kong game, the one match that I didn't talk about. I'm sorry. They went to Hong Kong. They played their starting 11, but Messi didn't take part, and everybody was just in upheaval. Because this global preseason tour, Janusz, was really not just about Inter Miami. In fact, they was the secondary character. This is about Messi, and Messi didn't play. So where do you see them right now as this preseason continues? Because when they come back, Janusz, they still got to play Newell's Old Boys, Lionel Messi's first love, from Rosario before they kick off. And Messi's already saying he's tired. What do you make of it so far before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Well, it's been a PR disaster, right? But that's what happens with superstars when they go on these tours. It happens really with all teams that say come to United States, right? You expect those big stars to play. And as we all know, they often don't, right? Because it's too early in the season. That's the case here. It's not unusual. I mean, he's taken the brunt of the criticism for sure. But I mean, look at Ronaldo. He didn't play, right? But it doesn't matter. It's not as big a story, right? Because if it was Cristiano Ronaldo, say on a tour in the United States, it would have been the same story. But he didn't play in that game. So it was false advertising. But that's the problem, isn't it, about the whole thing, that it's always about Lil Messi. And okay, I get it, but I think tours and Major League Soccer in general, for me, should be about Inter Miami and Major League Soccer, and not just about Messi. Because all that stuff that you see, right? I mean, look, Lil Messi doesn't need advertising. That's the brunt of it, right? But it seems that every game that they play, it's Leo Messi against Hong Kong 11, against Al Nassr, against this, against Sporting Kansas City, against anybody else, and the optics of that aren't good, right? Because you open yourself up for that criticism. And as I said, if Major League Soccer wants to become bigger, and if they want to use Leo Messi as a vehicle, no need to go out of the way to present that, right? It's almost more beneficial to sell while you have Leo Messi everything else that you've got, because everybody understands who Leo Messi is around the world in the United States, and everybody but nobody understands the league. I mean, look, if I ask, if you ask anybody to name all 30 teams, I don't think anybody comes up. They're probably, if you ask fans around the world and even in the United States to name one player on each Major League Soccer team, I think there'll be very many that wouldn't do it. So I think this is just backwards because, as I said, Messi doesn't need advertising.
It's backwards, but the truth of the matter is, Janusz, it's Lionel Messi. And given his arrival, the way everything happened with the Apple deal and the Adidas deal and the madness, the mania, you witnessed it, I witnessed it, that was last summer's Leagues Cup, has only catapulted itself to become to this point. But as you said, it shouldn't just be about Messi. This is Major League Soccer, not Messi League Soccer, the name that we do love. But regardless, it's not that. It's so much more. Let me ask you a question. We have Messi, who is a little tired right now, ongoing issue. Luis Suarez, who arrived, he's 37 years old. He has an ongoing knee situation, but regardless, he's there. Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba. But then when you look at the lineup, you have Leo Campana behind them, Benjamin Cremaschi, who was very good last summer, the Argentinian-American player. He's a little bit hurt. Facundo Farias, by the way, who was meant to be Messi's backup throughout the season. He's out for the season.
Good, yeah.
So he's out. So talk to me about this lineup and how do you see it before we have even kicked the ball in the regular season? How do you feel about them, even with Messi, Luis Suarez, and the rest of the team?
Well, I mean, part of this, I don't know what your hot take about, I don't love those, right? Because they always seem negative, and in some cases they are. We also have seen what they're capable of when healthy and motivated last season. That was outstanding. That was such a bonus for Major League Soccer, for Inter Miami alone, for everything really, because it's put Inter Miami, their pink jerseys and Leo Messi and everybody else on the map. So there's a lot of positives, but in general, I look at this team and my hot take, it's old. You've mentioned some, but it's old. And that's why I worry about them, because Facundo Farias was an important player. He was young. Cremaschi is going to be out for 2 or 3 months as well. There's a couple others. And I look at these names, and obviously Messi 36, Suarez 37, I like Busquets 35, Alba 34, DeAndre Yedlin is 30. That's experience. I'm not saying it's super old, but then you look at Serhii Krivtsov, very important center back. He's 32. He's injured right now. Julian Gressel, who's very important, has been on every team, and he contributes tremendously, as he did for Columbus Crew in terms of winning the league. But he's also 30. So when you look at that team, you have to ask yourself a question. This is not just 10 games towards the end of the season, when the bar was very low. Remember last season? I mean, he went above and beyond Messi, but the bar was so low. They won the trophy. That's great. But this is now the real thing. These are expectations of perhaps winning MLS Cup. This is a grind of epic proportions in terms of weather, traveling, artificial pitches, Leagues Cup, Copa America, which, by the way, if I had to ask Leo Messi, is probably first and foremost on his mind and is the most important thing. He will not admit to that, but it's an easy assumption to make, probably not too far away from it. And those expectations are high. So if I look at this team, I have to ask myself a question. How many times are we going to see all 4 of those players on the pitch at the same time? Even if we don't, it's not the end of the world, because, it happens. But given the fact that some of the key young players are out for significant time right now, and the budget being stretched because of those 4 big superstars, I don't know. I think there are more questions than answers sometimes.
Was it a mistake for this global preseason tour to be this packed? It was about 5 or 6 matches in the space of a week. And not just in one country, but we're talking multi-continental. They went to El Salvador, then they went back to the US, then Saudi Arabia, and then Hong Kong, and now they're in Japan, and then they're coming back to Miami. Was that just silly thinking, silly scheduling from not just Inter Miami, but just overall the product itself and the scheduling from other clubs? Was that too much for them?
From a sportive perspective, absolutely. Absolutely. Aside from the PR disaster that's here, I can understand why they did it. They wanted to capitalize on Lionel Messi and obviously all the other players as well. But I think, given what I just said, the sort of preseason you have, let's not forget that they've had 3 months off, which is good in one way to rest. But I think Inter, with everything that's ahead of them, with the age of the players, I think just needed a quiet and proper preseason, right? I mean, if from time to time the Liverpools, Manchester Uniteds of the world, Barcelona's, Real Madrid's complain about those tours, right? Be it to Asia or United States, because it's not ideal way to prepare, and they often don't get as much time off, right? Then it's fair to say that I think this project needed quiet. I think they could have, they're going to have to reap the benefits throughout the season, because there's that much pressure on Inter Miami and Messi and everybody and Major League Soccer and Apple. So I think that, this tour, given where it's been and how far they have to travel, And with all the injuries already to key players, and some of the key players not even participating, it seems to me in the very first year, full year of that, in a sporting way, was absolute disaster.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tata Martino, I'm sure, agrees as well. Obviously, he's not being as vocal, has to deal with it, but it was an overpacked preseason, which is not ended just yet. Let me just run you through their immediate schedule once the preseason ends and the regular season begins, Janusz and everybody. We have Vissel Kobe, which is tomorrow night. Then they head back February 16th. They face Lionel Messi and Tata Martino's first love, Newell's Old Boys. Then their opening game on the February 22nd, that's against Real Salt Lake. After that, a few days later, it's the Galaxy. They have to travel to LA to face LA Galaxy. Then it's Inter Miami against Orlando City, the Florida Derby, before they head into Champions League action. This is a lot for players, as you said, Janusz, that are over 30. Suarez is 37, Messi's 36. So this is going to be probably the most important thing for Tata Martino to deal with, the fitness, the health of these players. All right, we did a poll, Janusz Michallik, as we were talking on YouTube. Fans voted. We asked them, at this point, what do they think about Inter Miami's chances of winning MLS Cup? 67% said no. They don't think it's going to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, the first job for them, because, the season is going to be in stages, right? I think from the standpoint of Inter's, standpoint of the league and maybe sponsors and Apple, I think that the most important thing, this league is forgiven, right? In terms of playoffs, how many teams make it and all that. I think for me, the most important part of it is going to be start of the season and just maintenance of that season. I think Inter Miami has to stay in the conversation to be able to win it for as long as possible. And that, of course, means in the Eastern Conference, winning the games they're supposed to win, staying within that top 2, 3, or 4 even, right? I look, if they're in 4th or 5th place, I'm sure there's going to be criticism because you expect just based on the 4 superstars that it'll be better. But as I've said, it's not all that easy. So I sort of see what the 67% says. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I think, it's to a degree, it's almost unfair because, Lionel Messi, the way he's announced themselves when they came in, immediately, I remember right away, Inter Miami are favorites to win it. I almost wonder who says that because I haven't met too many people that would say that. Anybody that understands this league, maybe people abroad would say they got to walk the league, and people that don't watch the league every day, not just last season, but in the last 10, 15, or 20 years, truly should people here understand how difficult it is. And obviously playoffs give you life, it give you momentum. I think once Inter Miami makes it to playoffs, I think that's when Lionel Messi, if healthy, Alba and Busquets and Luis Suarez, they're going to feel that energy that I don't think they're going to feel throughout the season. It's not like being in Europe that every game is this just massive, massive game, right? So I think if Inter Miami makes it to the playoffs, it's going to have that feel of when they first came, or the Leagues Cup per se, right? They're going to forget about the fact that they're not playing for Barcelona, they're not playing for PSG, or they're not playing for the top teams in the world. They're going to remember how it was when they were playing there, because that's how important it's going to be. And by then, if they're in the playoffs, everybody, the whole world is going to pay attention. Up until then, this is what I worry about, how often they'll play. Look, Lionel Messi's going to have a say. I mean, who runs this I want to say this league, right?
Messi League Soccer, right?
It's not probably Don Garber, and I'm just guessing here. It's not Jorge Mas's owner. It's certainly not. It's not Tata Martino. We've seen them in Barcelona, right? Lionel Messi, if he feels, I don't say that cynically, but if he doesn't feel like playing because he knows he's overextended, he just won't play, and it won't be the Apples of the world and the league and Beckham, or they're not going to be able to come to him and say, listen, you have to. It's just going to, imagine how PR-wise, how that would look if that ever leaked out, that he's getting that pressure and there's some sort of a fight behind the scenes. Who's going to win that PR fight?
Yeah,
Easy,
Messi
right?
calls the shots for sure. There is definitely an NBA-centric philosophy here. Just make it through the regular season, make it to the playoffs. And that's what Tata Martino is worried about, really making it to the playoffs. And you're right, this is not a league that people think that's easy to win. I mean, look at LAFC. They didn't win it straight away. Atlanta United, it took them 2 seasons. David Beckham had to wait 5 to win it with LA Galaxy. There's a lot at stake. And just because Messi, arguably the greatest in the game, but there's a lot for Inter Miami to do. Hey, listen, last question. We love our hot takes here at ESPN FC Live. Some wild presumptions of what could happen. I haven't even talked about the fact that there's a Copa America in between this entire season, and Messi will probably most definitely miss a lot, especially how far Argentina, the World Cup champions, and Copa America defending champions do. But do you have any hot takes about Inter Miami's season, Janusz, Michallik? Anything that may be out there that not enough people are talking about? Luis Suarez and Messi, how many goals they will score? Will they win MLS Cup? Will they completely fall flat? Do you have any hot takes, my friend?
Well, my first one was that they're old. That's what I worry about. And I worry about the league.
Well, that's not a hot take. That's just a fact.
Right. That's true. No, but I do think that, just to go a little bit more positive here, I do think that Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez are going to be scoring goals when they're healthy, when they're available. They're quality players, and I think that you're going to see that. So what are we saying here? 50 goals between them? Is that
50.
fair?
5-0. I like it.